there has been a tremendous amount of name-calling on both sides. And what I'm going to say initially about how some people feel about the facts from the LGBT community is for the purpose of allowing you to know the level of emotion that exists. I wasn't going to do this, but I am. I think it's important for you to know what it's like. Many of you know me. I've been here for 30-something years. I love this city. And yet, even I am subject to demeaning caricatures. Some of you may know that I have represented and am representing a religious organization with regard to property, a property dispute in a Tarrant County courthouse. And this is an email that I received on that no, I didn't receive. The person who wrote that didn't have the courage to send it to me. This person decided to send this email to lawyers and professionals in this city. And this is what it said. The subject: how does John Nelson find time to sodomize his gay partner? With all of his interviewing in the gay press like the Dallas Voice, his active membership in local gay, lesbian, bi, and transsexual chamber, his proclivity for picking up rent boys at the Fort Worth Rainbow Lounge, and of course his true passion, trying to strip local churches of their houses of worship for disapproving of openly gay priests, you'd think Jonathan Nelson had superhuman abilities. Oh wait, it's all the meth and coke he puts up his nose. God bless such a hard-working fudge packer. That is what it can mean to be gay in Fort Worth. And that is why I'm going to discuss some of the initial reactions from the powers that be which caused us so much concern. The first reaction by the city's top police officer was made in a statement the evening of that Sunday. And that statement, couched as fact, related 3 supposed incidents where the officers were sexually accosted. And the chief of police went on to say, you're touched and advanced in certain ways by people inside the bar. That's offensive. And he went on to say, I'm happy with the restraint used when they were contacted that way. And this is the statement before any investigation was done. And from our standpoint, from reading that, it was our impression that decisions had already been made, that judgments had already been called. And although he called for an investigation, we wondered, after that statement, made as fact before any investigation, what sort of internal investigation would it be? And that is not. Many believe, and believe today, that had it not been for the fact that this is a gay bar, that the inspection occurred on the 40th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, beginning the gay rights movement, had it not been for the fact that a young man suffered a brain injury, and had it not been for the fact that this incident has received so much national and even international attention, had it not been for all of those things coming together, the chief of police's prejudgment would have been the end of it. Just take a deep breath. And that's not the Fortress way. Instead of acknowledging that there were 2 different stories, and because there were 2 different stories. That, in and of itself, necessitated an investigation. And leaving it that way, that's not the impression that was left that Sunday afternoon. When we read that statement, and we heard the public officials, upon learning that this incident had happened, and before any investigation had taken place, when we heard the response of those in public places was, "The police do a good job," you can understand the frustration. And you can understand it. I believe that this police department does a good job, and that those who wear the uniform try to serve and protect us.
Yes, sir.
But that belief does not create a presumption that everything was okay at the Rainbow Lounge.
That's right.
It does not, because that's not the forward way.
Right.
Some believe that it had not been for citizens who got together on a Monday morning, both straight and gay, and decided to write a letter calling for an independent investigation. And had it not been two state elected officials within our community and two members of city council joining in that, some believe that there would never have been a call for such an investigation. And that is not the forward way. And more recently, just the other day in the Dallas Morning News, here is what I read, a quote supposedly from a top elected official in this city. Quote, "It might have been helpful if the owner of the lounge had informed the officers that this day was more than just another day of the week." And you know, I thought to myself, what would that conversation have sounded? Officer, if you're inclined to be overly aggressive, or if you're inclined to not follow the policies and procedures set out in writing for both you and the TABC, if that's your goal, you need to understand it's the 40th anniversary. That's not. So, where do we go? I tell you the things that I have told you so that you understand the anger and frustration that exists and the validity of that if you are gay. That's why I tell you that. But we can't stop here. It's not enough to protest. It's not enough to scream. It's not enough to interrupt. Because the face becomes more important than the message. And we cannot let that happen here today or ever. Here's what I think this city needs to begin doing. And some of it, I understand, has been done. First, diversity training be a citywide priority, not just with the police department. And that process be conducted by those outside the departments who have the knowledge and expertise in that area. Second, there be an active police presence for the safety of our community where we socialize and congregate. Next, that the city's attitude not just be get along to get ahead. That this city, its leadership, embrace and promote the LGBT community and every minority community in a meaningful way. I'll go on. Next, that there be LGBT liaisons between the city and our community to work openly and cooperatively to deal with issues like this so that we can prevent them, not just react to them. And finally, an independent investigation. I understand full well that this city council and its mayor have called for an independent investigation. But I tell you this, if that investigation is just a review, meaning that someone or someone sit in a room and review the files, that is not an independent investigation. To me, whether it's by the city, which has an ordinance, which it can do, or the Civil Rights Division, or the U.S. Attorney's Office, if that organization determines that there are still questions to be answered, that institutional organization, whether it be the U.S. Attorney's Office or a citizen group, has subpoena power, have the power to revisit the witnesses and the officers. And I'll tell you what, this is not just a question of who, what, where, why, and how. It is proper, appropriate, and vital to ask these kinds of questions of the officers. Have you ever met a gay? Have you ever been to a gay bar? What do you think about it? And why is it necessary? Because a boy died on a fence in Wyoming because of attitude. And I will tell you that every action that is a hate crime exists because of that individual's attitude. And that's why those questions apply. As you can imagine, Fairness Fort Worth was formed out of distrust, out of anger and frustration. But quickly we understood that those emotions we had to put aside. Initially, Fairness Fort Worth was formed to facilitate the interview process with the witnesses, to encourage those witnesses to come forward and meet with the police department and TABC and their agencies in cooperation. Because the more people who come forward, the more accurate the results are going to be. And then this group decided that it would try to form, and it's only 2 weeks old. I mean, that's the reality. But the reality is this: we bear some responsibility for this. We've never had a gay community, a gay spokesman, an LGBT representative. And that's on our shoulders, what we do now. And what we are saying is, we're here to cooperate.
Yeah.
We're here to care.
Yeah.
We're here to listen. We're here to understand, and we're here to work with you.
That's right.
And all of those here who support Fairness Fort Worth, would you stand up?
Yes, yes.